All right, I don't want anybody to get me wrong in this video. I like the Civil Rights Lawyer's channel. I watch pretty much all of his videos. I'm a subscriber, so I don't want you to see this as an attack against him or his overall work. I'm making this video because it's important that we understand what real crimes and real felonies actually are. And we can't waver on the definition if we're going to get back any of our freedoms. Because when we do waver, it opens up a whole world of tyrannical actions by state actors who historically have made up bogus laws that justify plundering and imprisoning the rest of us. The result is that our rights are deprived under the color of made up laws, simply because they fabricated crimes that are not really crimes. And we also need to understand the power and control local, state, and federal agencies have gained over every single one of us through this thing called corporate traffic law. And to call for that traffic law to be completely eliminated. I mean, let's face it, the three ways that most of us lose our rights is through the war on terror, think airports all across the nation, the war on drugs, which really it's not a war on terror or drugs, it's a war on you, the American people. And number three, we've lost the majority of our rights through traffic law, corporate traffic law. Crime is typically defined as the breaking of a law that is punishable by the government or legal system. And that's got to change. If your freedoms are dependent on the whims of politicians and law enforcers, you aren't really free. Creating a system filled with policies that create criminals out of innocent people is a perverted system. And we got to stop going by their definitions. If there is no victim, there is no crime. In this recent update video entitled, "Remember the Orlando Officer Charged for Fleeing a Traffic Stop?" John Bryan gives us a quick recap of the Orlando Police Department cop Alexander Shoney, who was pursued and pulled over by Seminole County Deputy Kirby Hilton.
On June 6, 2023, Deputy Kirby with the Seminole County Sheriff's Department was on routine patrol when he observed a Ford Explorer that looked a lot like a police car traveling west at a high rate of speed. His radar indicated that speed to be 80 miles per hour in a posted 45 mile per hour residential zone. It was obvious to Deputy Kirby that police car was speeding out of its jurisdiction with no emergency lights on and endangering the public. The deputy turns his vehicle around, he turns on his emergency lights and his siren, and he begins to try to catch up to the speeding police car. His dash cam recorded the fact that he said he had to get up to 100 miles per hour just to catch up to him.
Over 100 miles an hour trying to catch up with this butthead.
But when he does catch up to him, even though he has his emergency lights on and his siren blaring, the car does not stop.
Pull over.
Eventually, he pulls up alongside it, he rolls down his passenger side window, and he asks, "Are you going to pull over?"
You gonna pull over?
Deputy Kirby wrote in his report, "I exited my vehicle to make contact with the driver. The driver exited his vehicle, and I asked him where he was going so fast, and he said work. I asked him what type of call he was responding to, and he replied, 'Look how I am dressed. What do you think?'"
What? I am going into work, my man. Why are you trying to pull me over as I'm going into work?
Because you're going 80 and a 45.
I am going into work.
Okay, where are you going to work?
What does it look like I am dressed for?
What
does it look like I am dressed for?
And when he asked for his driver's license, he refused.
My name is Deputy Hilton, and they see your driver's license.
No.
Okay. 3113, copy at 1050.
Now, I'm not going to say too much here yet, except this. Who is in the wrong here? And who's in the right? It seems to me that mainstream media outlets and posts on social media are setting this up to be a good guy, bad guy scenario. More specifically, good cop, bad cop. If there's one thing we know about any successful movie, there needs to be a protagonist and an antagonist. This is what keeps the audience hooked to see how this scene is actually going to play out. So let me ask you, which cop is good and which cop is bad? Or are they both good? Or are they both bad? And How do we make that determination? Let's just keep watching.
The deputy was able to later identify the driver of the marked Orlando police vehicle to be Alexander Shoney, but he had to use the driver and vehicle information database in order to find that out.
10-4, I got a city Orlando PD taking off from a traffic stop. It's going to be X-ray Foxtrot 6207, XF 6207. He refused to stop.
The deputy noted in his report that the driver violated several laws, including fleeing, reckless driving, and failing to identify himself at a traffic stop. This occurred in Seminole County, Florida. Bond was set at $9,000. When the footage was first released showing Shoney, this 25-year-old police officer, acting in the way that he did, he was quickly thrown under the bus. He was hit with both misdemeanor and felony charges, and he was completely relieved of duty.
Tonight, an Orlando police officer who sped through a neighborhood, then left in the middle of a traffic stop, is facing charges.
If convicted, he could be sentenced to 6 years in prison.
Court documents say the 25-year-old passed a Seminole County deputy at about 80 miles an hour in a 45. Several days later, the Orlando Police Department told News 6 Officer Shoney had been relieved of his duties, pending both a Seminole County investigation and an internal Orlando Police investigation. Court documents show on Wednesday, State Attorney Phil Archer officially filed 2 charges, including felony fleeing and eluding.
Here's point number 1. As bad as leadfoot badge-wearing state agent Alexander Shoney is, as he derives his paycheck from plundering and terrorizing people, what the hell is the felony here? I'm sure Shoney, just like Deputy Kirby Hilton, has victimized plenty of people in his short career. But who was Shoney's victim in this situation? Yeah, speeding can put lives at risk. But if Shoney doing 80 in a 40 was bad, then how did things get better when Deputy Hilton made the conscious decision to go over 100 miles an hour to chase 80-mile-an-hour Shoney? And resisting and obstructing an officer without violence, $500. Reckless driving, $500. Fleeing and eluding a cop, $8,000. And this cop was facing 6 years in jail for this? I mean, there's some murderers who don't get 6 years in jail. Ask murderer Philip Brailsford, the Mesa cop who shot and killed innocent Daniel Shaver. He didn't even get 1 second in jail. There's no doubt in my mind that Officer Shoney is a tyrannical psychopath, but there's no victim in this case. These are BS charges based on corporate traffic law. And what makes this so bad is that the public is saying things like, "What's good for the goose is good for the gander, Brian. If they're going to chase us down and charge us, they need to do the same to cops." And I get the double standard thing, where cops detain, fine, arrest, and cage us as they violate their own laws. And it's all shrouded in hypocrisy. But don't let this cloud your logical thinking. It's like people saying, "Well, if I have to pay taxes, then all tax evaders need to be punished." No. Forcing someone to give you a portion of their hard-earned money is theft, no matter who does it. To call for theft to come upon others because you're a victim of theft isn't right. It's not sane. It's not rational. It's not moral. And it's the same thing here. Yeah, cops are bad, but calling for the system to continue enforcing corporate traffic policy is wrong thinking. There is no victim, so there can be no crime. And to pretend cops have power to enforce corporate traffic law gives them the justification they need to take away more of your rights.
But then once it faded from the media limelight, a little bit of time went by. Was he given special treatment? He got the best deal that any criminal defendant can ever get, just short of all the charges being dismissed. He got a diversion agreement, which means after a certain period of time, it completely goes away. Dismissed. That then enables you to get an expungement, to wipe it off your record like it never even happened.
For an Orlando police officer will have his record expunged after prosecutors dropped the charges against him related to what would become this traffic stop here in his police cruiser. Shawnee was charged with third-degree felonies of fleeing and eluding law enforcement and misdemeanors of resisting an officer without violence and reckless driving. But his attorney fought the case and got him admitted into a pretrial diversion program, which he completed in December. So in exchange, prosecutors have now dropped the charges related to this incident. And now the process has started to have the case expunged from his record.
See, the problem here is there's no true felony on his record, only a fictitious felony of breaking corporate traffic law. Meanwhile, my question is, how many real felonies has Shawnee committed? How many people had to foreclose on their homes just because Shawnee, who no doubt works as an agent of the Department of Motor Vehicles in his area, helped to drive them into poverty through traffic citations and impound fees? How many parents were forced to take out a loan just so they could feed their kids because they couldn't pay all the tickets? How many pets has he shot? How many innocent people has he beaten? How many attacks on the public has he been involved in as he arrived code 3 to the scene of a cameraman peacefully recording on a public sidewalk? How many people are dead or in jail because of this guy? And they have the audacity to take him to court for felony fleeing at a traffic stop while they ignore all of his real crimes? This is a slap in the face to all the real victims of real crimes committed by real armed, badged, thin blue line thugs.
Oh, by the way, I got the Seminole County deputy's name wrong. It's not Kirby wasn't his last name. His name was Deputy Kirby Hilton. And he needs to be commended as one of the good guys out there who did the right thing. I would not be surprised at all if he has been punished from the inside for doing the right thing. I've seen it before around the country. Once an officer does the right thing, they're then labeled basically like the law enforcement version of a snitch. And it's only a matter of time before they get thrown under the bus.
And he needs to be commended as one of the good guys out there who did the right thing.
As one of the good guys out there.
Now, this is where I disagree with John. Deputy Kirby, who voluntarily decided to become a part of the Thin Blue Line gang of tyranny, is absolutely not one of the good guys. Just like we said about Shawnee, how many innocent people are in jail because of Kirby? How many lives has he ruined? He didn't even do good in this situation while he too hypocritically ran his car over 100 miles an hour in a 40 mile per hour zone to catch a guy who was only doing 80. Deputy Kirby did what he always does. He harassed another member of the public under the implied threat of force and then chose to do nothing to Deputy Shawnee when you know damn well he would have laid his hands on you, cuffed you, kidnapped you, and thrown you into a cage. What good thing has Kirby done? This is my question to the civil rights lawyer. Do you really believe that there are good cops out there who are part of an organized crime ring that specializes in things like civil asset forfeiture and criminalizing people under corporate traffic laws? I seriously want an answer to that question.
Well, many of you probably remember this initial story. How many of you ever heard how this ended? I know I didn't until today.
Orlando police told me today that Officer Shawnee is back on duty working the evening shift in the North Patrol Division. Again, that investigation is still ongoing. His attorney told me today that his client is not receiving special treatment. The court did the right thing, he says, because he had no prior criminal history.
But don't worry, even though he got a sweetheart deal from these prosecutors who initially told the media that he had committed these serious crimes and that they were going to hold him accountable, don't worry, the law enforcement agencies themselves are conducting their own investigation.
But now he could face trouble with the department as the agency works to determine if what happened during this stop violated any policies or procedures.
And here the scam is revealed for you to see. What they do is they hold their internal investigations open pending the resolution of the criminal charges, the criminal case. This happens all over the country. Their buddy prosecutors, who they work with on a day-to-day basis, their colleagues, will give the cops who get charged a sweetheart deal such as this diversion agreement. And then once the charges are dismissed, guess what? That also resolves the pending internal case. That also resolves the disciplinary case. Then the resolution is this: all criminal charges were dismissed, and actually it was expunged. So I guess case closed.
John's right here. All these agencies have sweetheart deals with prosecutors and judges. They're backed by police unions. They have multiple layers of protections for any perceived misconduct. But this applies to all agencies, not just to Shoney's agency, but also to Deputy Kirby's agency. You know darn well that if the shoe was on the other foot, Kirby, one of the good guys, would be afforded the same loopholes and protections. Therefore, Kirby can't be seen as one of the good guys. It doesn't even make sense.
And he needs to be commended as one of the good guys out there. But wait, isn't there a difference between a prosecutor establishing guilt beyond any reasonable doubt and a law enforcement agency reviewing something that happened to see if any of their policies or procedures were violated, such as not committing felonies, such as not driving 80 plus miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour residential zone, and then leading law enforcement officers on a pursuit and refusing to identify yourself to a law enforcement officer? Surely none of that can violate policies and procedures. Soon as the sweetheart deal takes place, we'll just copy and paste that the criminal charges have been resolved in the officer's favor. We'll put that at the end of the report as the conclusion of the report, and he can go back to work by Monday. And don't worry, we won't issue any press releases about it. We won't tell our buddies in the media.
Now, I agree with John on this. Police agencies all over the country have a habit of investigating themselves and then concluding that they've done nothing wrong. So the takeaway to my video here is that corporate traffic law is used as a justification to criminalize innocent people, people that cops are supposed to be protecting and serving, and to call for that criminalization to befall somebody else, and in this case it's a corrupt cop, when they're incessantly engaged in real widespread criminality, is to perpetuate the organized criminality of police departments that are aligned against us. I just want to repeat this. I don't have anything against Civil Rights Lawyer. I'm subscribed to his channel. I watch nearly all of his videos. I really benefit from the work that he does, but I got a serious problem with his handling of this right here. We got some serious questions that we need answers to. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. If you think I'm off base, let me know in the comments section below. If you want to support the channel, grab a hard-hitting, conversation-starting shirt like this one, protecting and serving the you-know-what out of you, because that's what cops specialize in. Become a channel member, but more importantly, know what your rights are and stand for your rights, because if you don't stand for your rights, you will lose your rights. I will see you in the next video.